Hello, my name is Matthew DeGeeter, Vice President of Education and Engagement at the American Society of Interior Designers. ASID brings you Learn by Design at High Point Market, an exciting program of curated content featuring interior design industry leaders who will share insight on building and scaling your business, ensuring financial sustainability and growth, and managing client relationships. Walk away with the skills to help you maximize your business profitability in 2020 and beyond. I am thrilled to welcome you to the final program in the ASID Learn by Design at High Point Market series, Woo to Close. For our presenter, who I am about to introduce, Sandra Funk, CEO and Principal Designer at House of Funk and founder of the Interior Design Standard. Nice, fun addition to Sandra's bio. Along with many others, her family used the opportunity of working from home indefinitely to now move from New Jersey to Nashville. So she's actually in the experience of actually switching up her life as well. And so she's taking advantage of the opportunity of what's happening right now in the world around us to actually relocate and change her lifestyle itself. And so I think there's some pretty interesting options and information that she might be able to share within her presentation too. But I'm really excited to welcome to our screen or to the screen/stage, Sandra Funk. If you could join us, turn on your camera and microphone. Hi, Sandra. How are you today?
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it.
We're thrilled to have you. So how's that near transition of move going on for you?
So it's coming up. I was just explaining, I'm moving right around Thanksgiving, and there's a lot to do with a move. There's a lot going on. So it's really exciting though. Big change, right? Big changes.
Big change.
2020 is the world of changes, and we're embracing them.
Perfect. Well, we wish you the best of luck in that move. And so I'm going to hand off to you and to lead us through this presentation. I'll join you back at the end of the presentation for our audience Q&A. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. And again, thank you for having me. All right. So we are going to talk about from woo to close. So this is my potential client process, and I'm so thrilled. As we all know, ASID has been an amazing partner with designers always, and there's no better, learning and designing and sharing information than through ASID. So thank you, ASID. Thank you, High Point Market Authority. What would we be without High Point to kind of staple us all together? So virtually this year, but I'll certainly be seeing you all soon. All right, so I am gonna go again, woo to close, how to land your dream clients. And as you know, I will be expanding from my New Jersey, New York market to Nashville. So I will be putting these principles to the test coming into a new market. So like I said, I have confidence that this is something that we can get into a new market and make it happen. So having a potential client process in place leads to a profitable and joyful design firm. We need those clients. But no matter how talented you are as a designer, your business will not be profitable or very joyful if you're not signing quality clients, right? Designers have this amazing thing where our own little personal difficulty in every single time you successfully complete a project, you create the need for a new client, right? We're not like an accountant who signs a client once and has them for 20 to 30 years. We have them for the life of a project, and then we need to go out there and find another amazing client. So landing your dream clients starts with a process. And if you know me, everything starts with a process. So why do we need to systematize the potential client process? And you'll hear me call it the PC process as we go through. We have to systematize it to ensure that every potential client receives the same care and attention. So we are really interested in making sure that there's a level of standards in our business, a level of care and consistency. We want to make sure that every client that comes to us gets the very same attention, they get all the same expectations set, all the things. We don't want our world to look like this big pile of sticky notes. We want to have a process that feels really clean and understandable. We want to guarantee that our team knows exactly what to do next. So I definitely lean on my team to help me vet potential clients. I find that I get too emotionally attached to a potential client. When I have a team member vet that potential client, I am a little bit removed emotionally, and I do a better job of not taking on projects that aren't ideal in their scope, size, budget, location, all of it. So with that, with having the team member vet the potential clients, they need to do it the way that I want them to do it. They need to say things in the way that I want them to be said. They need to get in the correct information. There's a lot that goes into making sure you're gathering the right information from your potential clients. So you want to ensure that your messaging, vetting, and onboarding are consistent, no matter who's doing that work. All right, let's dive into the process. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. So again, establishing a consistent timeline and a step-by-step process really helps your potential clients see just how organized you are, just how clear you are. And when you're setting expectations and educating the client from the very first phone call, you're demonstrating to them just how professional and serious you take your interior design business. So we have the potential client lead reaches out. We have the pre-initial meeting. We have that initial meeting where we have that first touch base with the client. Then we have the work that goes into putting the proposal together. And then we have a proposal meeting. So a time I find it is absolutely necessary to sit with the potential client and propose your fee structure and lay it all out in front of them. And then we have activities that we do after the proposal meeting. Obviously, we hope we're running right into setting up a new client because we've signed them. If they haven't signed at the time of that meeting, there's a bunch of steps that need to happen to follow up and stay in touch. So we'll break down each phase. Potential client lead. So when a potential client first reaches out to House of Funk, we schedule a call with the potential client to gather more information and to tell them how we work. So this is done by a team member, and it's just that first touch base. This call is crucial to our process because it determines whether or not I go to that first initial meeting. So again, I'm gathering information to see if this is my ideal client. We have identified an ideal client avatar, and we're trying to see if this is them before I spend any time working with that potential client. Because I don't charge for that initial meeting, we are diligent about determining whether that potential client is an ideal client or not. Because I'm not going on a potential client meeting to just any home. I'm only going to those that have been vetted. Okay, here are our initial call talking points. How do we find out if they're an ideal client or not? So when we're on the phone with that potential client, we are gathering the following information. Project details, whether or not the trades have been selected. For instance, I want to know if there's an architect or a builder already hired and who they are. The history of the home. So we want to know what style is it, where is it located, is this a new build, is this a historic renovation, things like that. Decisions about the timeline. So we want to know ahead of time, the very beginning. If a client says to me, I need this done in 1 month, I can say to them, I can educate them about the timeline of interior design, and if they are not receptive to the timeline of what it actually takes, I can see that as a red flag right from the get-go. And then information about the homeowners. We want to get the full names of all the decision makers involved. We want to have the address of the project so that we can go and see to make sure that the project is also in our ideal client avatar, which is a home value, location, all the things. So we're really gathering up that information so that we can benchmark it against our ideal client. So how are we wooing the potential client during the call? So woo is my word for sell, right? This is how we are selling to someone. We're wooing them. We are kind of building that know, like, and trust factor, and we're not just figuring out if they're right for us as our ideal client avatar, we're also selling them on the House of Funk. We are equally kind of doing that introduction dance. It's like being out on that first date. So we know that we want to work with the potential client, but how do we ensure that they want to work with us? So this is the language that my team uses in that first call to just demonstrate and sell House of Funk to the potential client. We specialize in soulful, full-service interior design, always starting with how our clients want to feel in their completed space. It's all about unearthing the soul of the home and creating a sense of place. We work in many genres, but they always reflect your desires, personality, and style. Does that sound like a good fit for your project? So here you could put what makes you you, right? Maybe you're mid-century modern, maybe you're you include feng shui, what makes you special? This is the language you want to include here. And then we love getting that soft yes from a client by saying, does that sound like a good fit for your project? So we're getting those soft yeses so that when we come in later and we're pitching the big design fees, we get the big yes and they sign on as a client. So how do we know if the potential client is a right fit for us? All right, our last step in our potential client process lead is to determine if the potential client is a fit for us. We're always checking the potential client against our ideal client avatar. So are they hitting the right marks? We have to trust our gut as well. It's not just to say, yes, they're, I'm going to tell you my ideal client avatar, right? So it's double income. I need, 2 decision makers who both have jobs. Sometimes it's 1 decision maker, but they got to have a job for me. I love to be hired as an expert, take that job and run. So I want someone who doesn't have endless hours to spend, doesn't want to go shopping with me. They want me to bring them design and run with it. Okay, so I want someone who is comfortable delegating, right? And who values another professional doing an experienced job, right? And understands what the value of hard work is because they're actually out in the world doing it as well. Then for us, our ideal client has 2 children and a dog usually, right? So that's all about being in a situation where they have a family and it's real life. And I'm not into perfectionists. So people that have children and dogs tend to have, if they were a perfectionist before they had children and dogs, they tend to have had that beaten out of them with the wear and tear that natural, regular family life brings. And I am a person who believes that we should start with a little patina in our life and let it grow as we live in our homes. They're not a museum, in my opinion, but rather a family home that we should really live and love. And it should show that we've lived and loved in that home. And so that's my ideal client. So I'm just looking, do they fit that avatar? Because we know it works better if they do than when they don't. Over time, all day long, yes, we take on, amazing potential clients that don't fit this avatar exactly every day. Proves ourselves right. We're better off when we do. Trust our gut. You really want to think, your higher self knows more than your rational self. So if something feels off, trust that. You can dig into it and you can try to find something rational to link that to, but you should be paying attention to your higher intuition. Polite and kind in the initial consultation. I can't say this enough. If the person is not treating my team with care and kindness and great communication, they're really hard to get in touch with. If they're curt or rude on the phone, then they're going to be curt or rude during the project. And I don't have time for that. We joke, we call our ideal client avatars kind whales. We're looking for big projects with kind people. And kindness counts. It's so, so important. So those are really telling as you're going through the potential client process. Our ideal full-service client meets the following criteria: our minimum house value and our minimum project budget. So these 2 are real numbers, real data, really, really important, okay? So we know, because we've been in situations where we might really want to do the project because they're a friend or they're, they've been a huge fan of ours and they're just dying to work with us. But if they don't have the budget and the home value to support that budget, right, then it ends up being a really difficult situation. So we know what our, we know what our price point is. We know what our, like the value and the quality of furnishings that we, have our regular trade accounts with. We know the value and the level of contractors that we have on our Rolodex. So when we take a project that's outside of our ideal house value and minimum project budget, we're being pushed into a budget that we can't meet, because we live in a certain area. That's where our expertise lies. When we try to work outside of that area, we are inefficient, and that means not profitable, right? In business, efficiency equals profitability. So know how to know a PC isn't the right fit. Red flags we're going to be looking out for. If the potential client doesn't treat you professionally on the call, that's number one. Kindness counts. I said it, I'm going to say it again. If communication is difficult, if getting that follow-up phone call, getting them on the call, understanding what they're talking about, if they're very, very unclear about what the scope is, they're probably going to be very, very unclear all the way through the project. If they keep changing their mind about what they should work on, they're probably going to keep changing their mind throughout the whole project as well. These things are such huge flags to be looking for. If the potential client is dictating how they want you to work, so this is a big one for me. I'll hear from potential clients sometimes, and they'll tell me how quickly something should happen, how they would rather see a whole bunch of choices than be delivered one cohesive design. So if they're telling me how they want me to run my business, they're probably a great big red flag in my book. If they're coming to me and want to discuss how I work and take that in, that's more my person. Now, that doesn't mean everybody has to like my process, and that does not mean that everyone has to hire me. But I'm running a business, and one of my big mantras is stand in your space, right? My business is set up how I do design. And so I'm going to explain to a potential client how I do it. They can hire me, but they don't have to. I'm going to be extremely clear and communicate all of those things up front. Timeline, price, how many, all the constraints around what a flat fee means. So how many revisions are included, how many meetings are included, just how much the communication is open. I'm going to define and explain all of that. They do not have to come on board with that program, but they do not get to tell me how to run my business or how to do it differently. All right. If the potential client is not a fit, we send them an email directing them towards our online interior design services if it's a budget or home value issue. Okay, so we do online design, and it's a wonderful, wonderful soft no. It's a great way for us to redirect them and say, we're not a fit, from a budget standpoint, but we do have online design, which might be great for your project. We love that soft no. Also, there's times when, there's times when the potential client is just not a kind human. They might fit all the other things. And then in that case, we're just telling them, no, thank you. We're not taking on your project at this time. It might not be about online, it might not be a budget issue. It might be a communication or a kindness counts issue. But saying no when your gut tells you to is so important as well. We know these interior design relationships are long-term relationships, and they're very personal. So you really need to be as careful with who you take on as a client as you are on all the other decisions you make in your business. If the potential client is a fit, we move on to the next step in the process, our pre-initial meeting preparations. So that's document all the important information and prepare for that initial meeting. All right, so let's walk through that pre-initial meeting. What are those steps? We schedule both the initial meeting and the proposal meeting with all decision makers. So it is so important in my book to get everyone who's going to be involved in that project at those meetings. I'm not only wanting to get to know both of them, but I'm also watching how they interact with each other. We prepare a thank you note to send to the potential client after the initial meeting. So I'm preparing to say thank you already for their time and attention while we consider working together. We also add the potential client to our various systems and add their email to our email list and lead nurture series. So we're going to capture that data, right? We're going to figure out where this client came from. We're going to make sure that we put them on our email newsletter list for potential clients. And our lead nurture series is a great way. It's an email series that they get automatically that really, it leads them through getting to know our firm. It just deepens all that communication. And the beauty is we write it once and we use it with every potential client. Lead nurture series. Okay. So we're going to go into more detail on that for you because it's such a great tip. This is our 6-part email automation designed to help move clients toward purchase. The emails feel personal and talk to specific client pain points. So these emails were written as if I were sitting down to just write it to one client every time. And they were written with all of those questions and concerns that our potential clients have brought to us over our many years in business. So, because we know exactly what they're worrying about, we know exactly what they're hesitating about and what they're wondering about, what their questions are. So this 6 email sequence is all set up around real questions and concerns we've had over our 15 years in business. The automation is set up in ActiveCampaign, and we can track the client's click-throughs. So we know exactly when they click on when they open the email, if they didn't open the email, if they clicked further in that email, if they forwarded it. We know all that detail because we're tracking it in ActiveCampaign. I set up this email series once and have been using it successfully for years. So again, we wrote these emails, we took a lot of care and attention on them, and they are just helping to woo and move these clients towards purchase for years now. It's worth the effort. All right, now we're moving on to our initial meeting materials. So this is that first meeting with the potential client. Things that I'm taking to that meeting are room measurement template, information about the client, so everything we've gathered so far. Again, that room measurement template is kind of all the typical rooms that we would measure, and of course I've got some others in there just for those crazy one-off bonus rooms or whatnot. And then it has room for the length and the width, and also the level of furnishing that we're going to be doing. So if it's a renovation or a build, or if it is decorative only or partial furnishings. And I'm capturing all that information because it really helps me move through my proposal very, very quickly once I've got all of that information clearly laid out in front of me. Then I've got a design agreement. It has the client's information in it, their names and address, but it doesn't have any of my design fees or the furnishings investment estimates yet, because we haven't calculated that data, but it does give me a hard copy design agreement that I can leave with them so they have time to read that through and have any questions, maybe even run it by their lawyer before I bring them the proposal meeting, so that at that time I can ask for the sale. I also bring my handy dandy little laser measure. I love this for my capturing quick dimension. I'm just getting room overalls in this initial meeting so that I can calculate square footage and my flat design fee accordingly. And then I've got my sales presentation. I usually bring it on a laptop or an iPad, and it is kind of my silver bullet on closing clients. All right, here we are, the initial meeting. The goal of the initial meeting is to get to know the client, fully understand the scope of the job, measure the overall space, right? Just high level overalls. I'm not getting into the details here, and walk them through my process. All right, so I'm really trying to capture enough information from them that I can put together a flat design fee proposal, as well as selling them on House of Funk. Now, I'm not only selling them on House of Funk, but I am educating them about our full process. My whole goal here is to not have later someone say, but I thought, I would have liked, it would have been nice if, right? I'm telling them that they get 1 round of revisions with my flat fee. I'm telling them about our timeline on the process. I'm telling them an approximate, furnishings investment that they're going to need to make in this job to make it sing. So it's all about educating the client and setting expectations. And one of my big rules of thumb, always set expectations, say out loud those little things that trip you up later first. Say them first. So say to them, you're going to get 1 round of revisions. Any additional revisions after that, we will assess an additional flat fee. Say that out loud to that client in their eyeballs when you're in person, in writing and follow-up emails, in the contract, and again in your onboarding emails when they sign. Say that over and over and over again in multiple ways, right? Some people are visual learners, some people like the written word, because when you have to say to them, we're on our third, we're going to a 2nd round of revisions and I'm going to assess a fee, it cannot be a surprise, right? You really need to have walked them through this repeatedly, many times. And it is not, you're not mad at them, they've done nothing wrong, but when we get to another round of revision, but beyond what's included, we're assessing another fee. It's just standard, you know this, it's part of the process, right? When it kind of comes up later and they didn't hear it already, they think maybe, does she think I'm being difficult? Is there a problem? Like, again, I know you guys all probably were at the difficult conversations talk as well. I'm all about mitigating, educating, saying it out loud, setting expectations to try to mitigate and never, ever, ever have to get to those difficult conversations. Inevitably, you know, life happens. But I'm always trying to avoid, you know, trying to say it up front, be more clear, educate. All right, so now I've got all that information, right? I've got my measurements, I've got my stuff. I'm really on like layer one of educating my client and setting expectations. Then I'm going to take all that data and all that information and I'm going to go crunch on it before our proposal meeting. So this is the work that happens before the proposal. I head back to my office and I calculate the fee and prepare the design agreement to present to the client. So again, I'm taking that square footage of the job, I'm taking the scope and scale of the job. So, you know, am I doing a living room that's 750 square feet or 2,500 square feet? Like, well, I don't know, that's not a living room, that's like a ballroom. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? There's all different size rooms, and then are we renovating or decorating, partial, full, all of that. So that all goes into my flat fee calculator, and we're able to put the presentation together from there. I also send a thank you note at this point. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. I'm excited about working together. So again, it's another touch point, very personal. Like I said, you know, we have personal meetings, we have email follow-ups. We're really working to let them know the level of communication and support that they're going to get from us when they're our client. We're trying to bring that to them as potential clients. All right, proposal meeting. This is where you got to ask for the sale. It's a big one, right? So we're going to present the design agreement and design fees in person whenever possible. Now today, in person might mean over Zoom, and that's absolutely fine. It's about being here and saying it out loud. It's about them seeing you say it and feeling confident about it, right? It's about being there and watching their reaction, their body language, and being there right then to support any questions that come up immediately. I'll be honest with you, most of my potential clients are a little sticker shocked when I show them what it's going to take to get a big luxury, beautiful design project done. Being there with them when we share those numbers for the first time is a huge help because I can walk them through why. It's because I'm going to be with you day in and day out for the next 18 months. I am going to be your advocate. I'm going to help you build your team. You know, I'm going to help you figure out the right contractor, the right architect, the painter, the wallpaper. Everything is going to go through me. I'm going to be your rock. I'm going to be your point of contact. I'm going to take responsibility for turning your house into a home, right? That kind of support and confidence you can only do in that moment, right when they're feeling their most anxious, when they're seeing those big numbers. Once you've explained the value that you bring, asking for the sale is as simple as saying, this is going to be an incredible project. Are you ready to get started? Right? So I love this. We do, Luann, I know you guys saw in the series earlier this week. Luann is a mentor and a dear friend of mine, Luann Nigera from Well Designed Business, and she is always talking about, you know, she's so good at sales, but like she says, I don't have some tricky statement or something. I just explain how incredible it's going to be when they hire me, and then I offer them the opportunity to hire me. It's my favorite thing. So again, it's about walking them through your process, walking them through how much value you're going to provide for them, and then inviting them to hire you. So be prepared to respond to objections. I do not go into this in-person meeting where I'm asking for this sale without being ready for the inevitable follow-up questions, right? You should too. So I'm ready with my design questionnaire if the client is ready to sign, so we can literally jump right in. So I'm going to go back to the being prepared to respond to objections. Again, over the course of doing these presentations with potential clients for many, many years, I know what some of those objections are. I know what those hard questions are. So I write them out. And I have a little script that I can go through where I can review my FAQs, my potential client frequently asked questions, and I can just breeze through them. And it's not that I won't know the answer to the question, but it's about confidence. It's about saying, let's get started, and then shutting your mouth and letting them talk next, right? And having the confidence to know that you can sit there with a smile on your face because you have answered these questions before. And you have been in a situation where a client decided not to hire you, tried the job on their own, a year went by, they finally hired you, and then they gave you that incredible testimonial that, you know, a professional really is a different level than trying to do it yourself. So, you know, prepare for the objections. Why not be ready for anything? That said, we prepare to land the job right then as well. So if I do have a client who's ready to sign right then, I have the next step in the process ready to go too. So they can sign that agreement, they can give me their credit card, off we go, or a check, right? And then I have my design questionnaire right there ready to run so that we can dig right in. So there's not this awkward, like, the last thing I want to do is say to them, sleep on it, think about it, call me tomorrow. I want to ask for that sale right in that moment. So for me, asking for that sale is, let's dig in. I've got the design questionnaire right here. We can dive right into the next layer. If they need more time and they do want to sleep on it, then what is really great is to say, awesome. So let's see if we can find a time later this week when we can have a call and touch base. So instead of saying, letting them leave your office with just an open-ended, maybe they'll hire you, set up a follow-up call, let them know, why don't you sleep on it? Think, you know, if they say they're going to sleep on it, think it through, you acquiesce, right? You have to say, yes, that sounds like a plan. And then say, why don't we put time on the calendar so that if you come up with any follow-up questions or you want to clarify anything, I know that I'll have time on my calendar set aside for you. So we can have a little touch base and I'll be able to answer questions. So it's a courtesy that you can do them, and it's also a great way to follow up and get that sale. All right, so after that proposal meeting, there's things to do. There's always things to do, people. All right, so we're gonna follow up with that scheduled phone call. Definitely ask for the sale again. I love, if we really have a kind whale on the hook, someone who's truly nice, fits our avatar, has the right home value, the right budget, is in the right area, I'm gonna go for it, right? Why not? Signing a great client has a lifetime value, right? They're gonna have referrals, there's so much more to it than just that one job. So now that I've gotten to know them well enough to know what they like, how they wanna feel in their home, what they're into, I have all that I need to send them a personalized gift with a beautiful handwritten note, tell them how excited I am to work together. I love fresh flowers for this. You know, if I know their favorite color already, or I know that they're, you know, wanting which space they want to brighten and lighten. Also coffee table books, candles, food if you know they're going to be home, wine if, you know, you were being considered for a wine cellar. Listen, there's something in there that will allow you to show them, I get you, I see you. I'm going to bring this to our project, and you can demonstrate how quickly you can take in what their likes, wishes, and desires are and reflect it back in something that they truly value. My follow-up communication includes the age-old language of assuming the sale. Now, I know there's a lot of sales tactics out there, but I do stick with the old, I can't wait to get started on your project, rather than I hope we can work together. So my language does center around assuming the sale once I've pitched the client. Full service interior design is a big commitment, and the buying cycle can be very, very long, all right? We track the metrics. We know that clients take a long time sometimes to pull the trigger and hire a designer. So stay in touch. Again, make sure that way back in the process, you added these potential clients' email addresses to your monthly newsletter, and make sure you're sending them a beautiful holiday card or whatever gorgeous marketing you're doing. We have a monthly newsletter for potential clients. We also do a holiday card that is a highlight of the latest and greatest projects in our portfolio. So it's like a sneak peek. It's usually projects that are being pitched to press and so haven't hit the internet yet. So it's an awesome little like fun way to kind of say, here's what we've been working on lately, and it's a beautiful holiday card. All right, Thank you so much for your time. Again, I share all of this information because I truly believe that we're stronger together with the mantra, of course, rise, designers rise. You can find me at interiordesignstandard.com for all things business side of interior design. We're at Instagram at House of Funk. Feel free to DM me with any follow-up questions you have. I'm an open book when it comes to resources. So if you need more details on anything, send a little DM and we'll work it out. And of course, our contact information, info@houseoffunk.com. All right. We have time for Q&A.
So we do have a few audience questions, which I'm excited for. So let's start with, relating to potential clients, who should vet my PCs if I don't have any employees? Like, who would you go to?
Yep. So, okay. So definitely if you're a one-woman show, this is one of those things that I found really important to, hand off to someone. It was one of the first things I handed off when I hired my first assistant. So what I can say to you is there are so many virtual assistants out there in the world, especially with COVID, working from home, working virtually, working flex schedules, etc. Find someone who you can hand this script to who can do this vetting process for you. If that's not comfortable to you and you want to do this vetting process yourself, I would say do that initial call, gather that information, kind of have like your checklist where you're filling out that information, and tell the potential client that you are going to review this information and you are going to reach back out to schedule the follow-up call, or reach back out to schedule. Take a minute away from the emotion of it. I remember I used to get on the phone with the potential clients and be like, I've been following you for years and I've been wanting to work with you and we saved up and da 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 da. Well, they have me. They might not be the right client at all, but they've got me by the heartstrings, right? We've been saving for a year to hire you. And then I find out they've been saving for a year and they've got $10,000, and I'm like, this is not the job I can take. I can't take that job. I can't make that profitable where I live and where my price points are. So if you are doing your own potential client call, take that information, write it down, get off the phone, tell them you're going to review everything and you'll reach back out to set up a second call, a second meeting, whatever. And then make yourself go through that information objectively. Have an ideal client avatar identified so that you can look at it and you can say, this does not fit the mold. And you have to hold yourself to that now, right? You can take away all the emotion and you have to say, does this make profitable sense for my business? And certainly you can do that on your own. I like this to be a 2-tier. I also like it to be a 2-tier from the standpoint of showing the professionalism and the level that you bring as a designer.
That's a really good point of like always reminding yourself who that avatar is. It's almost like you need to keep it on your desktop or a post-it note or like a list on your phone so that it's in front of you, so that maybe that the emotion doesn't overwhelm you when you're wanting to take on maybe that client that may not be just the right fit at that time.
Definitely. And I always say, you have to turn away the mediocre clients to give room to the ideal clients, because if you fill your day and you fill your calendar and you fill your pipeline with meh, when the big one comes, you're not going to have room for them, and that would be very sad.
You have to make space for other than meh. I like that's a good sound bite.
Do you remember just like back in college, you'd be saying to the girlfriend, I know you're hanging out with him until you find Mr. Right, but Mr. Right's not available if he sees you making eye contact with meh, right? So leave room.
That's a good way. It's all life choices, and it all maps together.
Yeah.
All right,
and so
it all does. So question also within that vetting process and following up with them, you've definitely mentioned a few scripts. Would you be willing to potentially share your initial client script?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. So, oh, perfect. Can I give it to you and have you send it with the recording?
We can do that. We can post it with the recording itself. Yeah. Awesome. We can have it available for download.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's a good example of like, I really think it's important to not only ask, what's the home address, and then you're obviously going to go and Google, find out the home value. I don't ask them that directly, but and then go back and look at that against your ideal client. So fill that script out fictitiously with your ideal client and use that as your benchmark.
Perfect. All right, let's see what else we have from our audience. Ooh, this is a great question about confidence. So you've talked a lot about, understanding yourself and your process. How long did it take you to be confident in that process itself? Or what was maybe a turning point for you in that process?
Sure. So I started my career as I was a finance major and I was a business consultant before I moved into interior design. So part of my training back when I was a business consultant, there was a women's networking group that was like women helping women in business, right? And one of the trainings that we did was like women take up less space, they talk quieter, there's all these things that women, like there was this whole training about women being more confident and how to show and demonstrate confidence. Like, we're talking power poses and like taking up more room in conference rooms and speaking and projecting, right? Making eye contact is huge. So some of that comes from way, way back training. And then when I switched careers, I absolutely reached out to like the 80-100 for a job and they kind of laughed at me, and I went and worked the floor at Ethan Allen. So there is nothing better than that. Is all day long pitching, rejection. So anyone who's ever, done anything acting wise or anything like that knows you just go, right? And like you have to have some faith that when it works, it's going to be the right person, and that you can't get beaten down by the no's, because I always tell myself like that may have been a crisis averted. Like if they're telling me no, that you're way too expensive, that means no, I can't afford you. It's just people tend to, it's how they say it, right? So, okay, they can't afford us or we're too expensive. Crisis averted. We're not a fit, I want the clients who hire me to be chomping at the bit. So it's a lot of mindset. It's a lot of
It's
mindset.
true. And that's also protecting your bottom line, because are you going to then be spending a lot of time negotiating fee or negotiating a selection or negotiating a process if it's just not the right fit at the right time? Because if you've scoped out that client and vetted that client appropriately in order to get to that woo to close process.
Exactly. And again, woo to close is not like begging or convincing these clients, right? You're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. And I think when you get to the point where you understand that, that's when you're making choices that, for profitability, and you're excited. I mean, of course you're excited to land a new client, but not the wrong new client.
Got it. Good point there. So within that vetting process and such, could you tell us more about the 6-part email series that goes out?
Definitely. So that email series is all about saying to them, you're busy. There's a lot going on in your life. You want a home that you're proud of. Get it off your plate. Like, can I help you with this? Like, we take care of it from soup to nuts. We're going to, we're always going to be on your side. We're going to just take it and run. It's all this language around, you've got this because we're going to take care of you and we're going to support you in having this incredible home that you desire. At one point I give this example about how I certainly, like all day long, if I have an extra stack of money, I'm going to buy a chandelier, not a sweater, right? All day long, like couldn't care less. Like throw me in a pair of jeans and a white t-shirt all day and I'm fine. But I have to go out in the world and be a professional woman. So at some point I hired a stylist to come in and to clean out my closet with me. It was the coolest thing. So we went through piece by piece and she's like, that's not the right shape for you. And your colors are this, not that. And oh my God, mind blown, right? I know fabrics, I know colors, I know shape, like I know scale. And yet I really benefited from hiring an expert to help me with my wardrobe. So we give this example of like, you do what you do best and I'll do what I do best for you. So you go out and if you solve the world's problems and if you, have an amazing career, stay there. I'm a true expert in making a house a home. So let me help you there.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's a whole series that kind of walks them through just how much it will benefit them to hire a designer.
It's really an onboarding piece too. And you think about how much we're inundated with communication working from home for a lot of us now. Emails are coming left and right. And so you have to keep essentially a cadence in order to help them walk through that process, because you can only consume so much at one point.
Yes. And some of those 6 emails are a little snip, just planting a seed. And then some are, the longer format example of what's going on. And we're very keyed in to see if we've got a big potential client that we're excited about. Are they opening it the day they get it? Is it sitting there for a little while? Are they opening it all? We really know how important we are or how close we are to closing that client based on their actions on these emails.
Nice. Wonderful
Yeah.
about that. So we did receive also a question about fees and about how you may charge. Do you work hourly or flat fee or any combination thereof?
So we are flat fee only. We do a flat design fee that covers the whole project. So we don't charge later for procurement differently or anything like that. And we also make the margin on product.
Wow, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is a great question as well from the audience about loving the idea of sending flowers, small gifts, and other thank yous to that potential client. Like they're really quality touch points. And I even like how you mentioned if you've noticed the client's favorite color, so incorporating that somehow. So it already shows us personalization and like human to human connection in that process. But how do you know the boundaries from gift and thank you and touch point versus bugging or feeling that you're crossing that line? And
Yeah.
is there a way that you've learned how to balance that?
Definitely. I would say I do ride that wave of feeling like I don't want to nag them, I don't want to pester them. But I do feel like if I know they're home, somehow if I have touched base with them and I know, I had a client, for instance, say, oh, we have such a, have a good weekend. Oh, the weather's great, whatever. We're wrapping up the potential client meeting. And they said, oh yeah, we have, the little 5-year-old ran through. And they said, we have a big weekend. We've got family in town. We've got the 5th birthday party coming up this weekend. We're going to be home, basically. And so I knew they were going to be home, and I was able to send flowers. They were having a party, so I was able to help them by having something beautiful for the centerpiece for the table. So it's just listening and showing. And I don't know, I don't think there's ever a time when a gift that's really respecting and listening, and it's not, I'm not asking for anything in return, something that's just personal and a gift. I don't think that's a bother. Now, if I'm calling them up and being like, what are we doing this? Are we doing, I feel like that's a lot to ask, but the gift is it's a beautiful gift, and you have to give, a gift given is for no return, right? So to say thank you for your time and would love to have, looking forward to working with you on this project and give a nice gift, I think is not naggy at all.
And the really great thing about it too, from an outside perspective, is it shows your attention to detail. Even how you mentioned that if they've mentioned that they're going to be home this weekend, so you can actually send flowers, that they would appreciate receiving the flowers. You're reading further into that, showing that how even you would curate their home, and it maps entirely to how you've described yourself and your process, and so it fits. And I mean, it's such a great compliment, and it's a subtle reminder without ever having to you're not necessarily picking up the phone saying, as you said,
Right.
are we going? What's going on?
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? That's a great point. Perfect. So here's a different part about handling your client, and this is really intriguing. So how do you handle clients that may have already started the design process before they've even called you? So maybe they've already gone down a path, maybe independently in there.
So usually when I get that call, it's because they tried something and it didn't work out great. And they've kind of learned the lesson that they need a designer, they need a professional. So we see that a lot with this sofa is way too tiny for this room or way too big for this room. And, clients, it's actually a huge value. It's an absolutely huge selling point for me to take and spin, right? And so then in my follow-ups, I'm saying, don't make expensive mistakes. We not only do this for a living, we double check that stuff in CAD, and we take responsibility if something were ever wrong, it's on us, So so I will take any little nugget like that and I will sell on it. And we'll use it as a talking point.
Oh, that's a great way. It's the way to leverage it into a benefit, and it actually shows your value even more.
Yes.
So.
And there's always a basement or a guest room or a friend who needs that sofa that's in the wrong scale.
That wrong size and scale. Exactly. Okay. So we've got time for a few more questions. Ooh, Ooh, this is a great question for those who are starting out. So if your business is still starting, like growing, like you're getting off the ground, is it better to take the less than avatar worthy clients than no clients at all? So kind of going back to that meh, is it okay to take the meh client in that scenario, or how would you approach that?
So there is a point where you have to get some work under your belt, right? You have to start to build a portfolio. So I totally understand the taking whatever comes your way, and you might take whatever comes your way, and you have to be careful with that though, right? One of my favorite examples of this is, you know, Walmart is Walmart is Walmart. Walmart didn't do a good job and become Gucci. You don't grow up from Walmart to Gucci, right? Gucci came out the gate Gucci. They didn't like tiptoe in and then get a little better and raise their quality and get their branding up a little bit. So with that, if you start doing whatever you can get your hands on, that might be the niche and the brand that you become if you're not careful. Where you want to come out the gate, you want to pick your level, pick your comfort zone, and you want to really be there. And it might be the situation where you take some work that you don't photograph and you don't market around because you just need some cash flow. But if you start to build that brand and you start to build that niche around whatever tier you live in is the tier you will stay in, essentially.
It's a great point. Also with even how you're marketing and communicating your business. So what are the projects on your website? Because that's going to have a reflection, if from what you get photographed, where you place that, are you featuring it in your social media? Because that's also then going to probably attract similar clientele or clients who aspire for that type of space.
Definitely, definitely. And it's so funny. So I'm in a place in my life where I want to be doing more earthy, organic. I want to be doing, earth conscious. I want to be doing whatever I want to be working on, right? And so we took a really careful look back at our portfolio on our website and all of our social media. And we took a big cross section of projects out of our portfolio that spoke to a different direction. And so and now we're really being careful with what we photograph and put out there because we're leaning into, we're turning up the volume in the area we want more work, and we're turning down the volume in the areas where we don't necessarily want more projects like that.
Good point. Perfect there. So I think we've got about time for 1 to 2 more questions. So within your initial meeting for in-person, is there a reason you do not charge for that initial meeting in person?
Yes. So the reason I don't charge is because for me, I do a somewhat lengthy design process, and I do, it's 4 months to get through, to have like proposals ready for a design. Okay. Even in just decorating, even in just design only, where there's no renovation or build involved, it's a lengthy process. There's a lot of documentation. There's a lot of trades involved. We're inevitably doing built-ins and custom window treatments and all the things. So if I am charging for that initial meeting, for me, I would want to provide so much value to make that relevant, right? And what I have found for me is that I would be throwing out little design appetizers, right? Little design snacks that are totally at odds with the full 9-course meal we provide in our full service process. So it's just at odds for me. So I look at that initial meeting as I am interviewing them just as much as they are interviewing me. I do not give any decorating advice. I do not say, yes, we should move that wall, or no, we should not. I am there to listen to them. I'm there to ask them, how do you want this home to feel? How will this function? Who's going to use it? How many people come to dinner on a regular basis? How many people come to dinner twice a year? What do we need to make this house do for you? But just by nature of it, I don't have people saying to me, would you paint this room blue? Because it's just irrelevant. We're talking about this project at such a big, high kind of, how is this going to be used emotional level, that no one says to me, what paint color would you use here? And if they did, I would simply say to them, that is one of those things that that's actually like one of the last things we do in this very carefully considered process. Our design takes time and our full attention. We're, a team-based business. If I threw out a paint color right now, it might be at odds with the long-term vision that we're going to work together to do. So
it's a great point, because You don't want to give away that information because it's not necessarily that you're giving away the advice. You don't want to make a decision too early in that process when you're still trying to learn about them. And I think that point that you just made about you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you, because it is a two-way street, it is a relationship. And in a unique way, that also shows that how you are valuing their time.
Right. Right. And again, if I took their money for that meeting and they asked me a question, I would be obligated to give them the quick version of an answer, not the carefully considered, all threaded together. We talk about all the time, our design is alchemy. It's not a sofa and a chair and a paint color. It's how they blend. It's how it all goes together. So I give them that if they ask for some little detail.
Perfect. Great. All right, so we're going to take our last question from the audience. So, okay, it takes time to develop and evolve your process, like no matter what, as you learn through your business, and you do evolve, as you mentioned, not going from Walmart to Gucci, or like where you come into the market as well.
Yeah.
So how do you handle the old clients who come back to you who seem to still want to stay with your original process? So if you've evolved your process, a past client comes to you again, wants to stick with that old process, but you have a new process. How do you handle that, navigating that?
Sure. So what I've done in the past and what I do for everything if I can is so we've sent out an email to our past clients, anyone who we wanted to work with again, and said, we are better, stronger, we've evolved, we've been listening to our clients, and we've made our firm and our processes even better. So the next time you're looking to hire House of Funk, we've gone from A to B, and B is better because XYZ, right? So it's about saying it, getting out there, and it's a great way to touch point. It's a great way to touch base with past clients who you want to work with again. It's a great email to send. Hey, we've updated something. We're doing things better than we used to, and here's what that's going to look like now. So you're not only setting an expectation and educating them on your process and how it's evolved, but you're also giving them hey, you guys got more work for me while you're at it.
It's a great way of also demonstrating your value proposition. Like you're taking them through this journey with you along the way, and then always keeping the door open for more business. Like a repeat client well, depending on what the client relationship was. If it was a great client, that's always welcome as well.
Definitely. And if it's not, then you just run the other way fast.
All right. Well, Sandra,
we have those too.
I think that closes out our audience questions. This has been wonderful and actually a lot of fun as well. And thank you, audience, for all those wonderful points and feedback for us as well. So Sandra, just one final major thank you for sharing this presentation, your process, and so much intel, and because it is clear that years of experience and work and thought and energy have gone into that, and it's really a wonderful thing for you to share that as well with us here at ASID Learn by Design at High Point Market. So with that, Sandra, I'll let you sign off and I'll wrap up.
All right, thank you so much. I cannot say thank you enough to ASID for all the years of input and wisdom. High Point Market, the fact that you all are together on this is absolutely huge.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.